And by let's do this, I mean literally if this works, I will be astonished. Because I'm like bootstrapping. Hey, somebody followed me 10 minutes ago. Nice. Okay, so that's the cacao.
Mm-hmm. I like the cacao.
People watching this as an archive are going to be like, so what was that beginning part with the flavor testing? What do you think, man? You gotta stay fed. It's the most important part of the stream. Okay, here we go. Awesome. So, plain. Today we're doing a, what it says on the tin. There are a lot of things that we've talked about doing that we have not done, and I want to tell you why. So we're gonna do that. But first, we're going to do something even more important, and that is test the new Soylent Strawberry, which just came in the mail like a half hour ago. I put this one in my freezer to get it to be cold fast enough. Okay, there goes the cap. They now have this nice little seal. It's a little unboxing video, sort of, I guess. Unbottling video. It's nice, like better textured plastic. That's nice. Flying V, what's going on? This meme decayed. I'm here too. What's up? Spirit and Steel, you found me here. Awesome. Okay, let's try it. First try of strawberry Soylent. They said that it tastes like that strawberry milk, you know? It smells like that strawberry milk. Actually smells a little funny. It mostly smells like strawberries. It's not strawberry colored. It's like a normal Soylent color. So like tan smoothie colored. Yeah, it is like that strawberry milk. It's like a pretty potent strawberry flavor. It's like not subtle at all. It's like a lot strawberry.
It's not too sweet though.
It's not too sweet, that's true.
Kind of reminds me of those like Danimals, like yogurt things, yeah.
That's good. It kind of does remind me of like Danimals. I didn't even drink Danimals that many times, but this is so similar that I remember like the one time. That's interesting. Okay, well, cool. For those that don't know, for those who haven't been on my Twitch streams that much, Soylent is this like meal replacement drink that I have been drinking a lot because I like it and it's very tasty, or at least cacao is very tasty. This chocolate flavored one, and it's very helpful for getting me fed while I'm streaming. So I recommend it. I mean, I'm not gonna like send you a link until they actually sponsor me, which I'm working on. But I do recommend you try it. And they just came out with a new flavor called strawberry, which is strawberry flavored, and it's good. I think it's gonna grow on me. Like I admit, at first I was like, this is a little bit too strawberry and not sweet enough. Buried alive by flavor. Nice. Savage. Ponzio and Benamaro, welcome to the stream. What's going on? Spirit and Steel, no, this is my friend Carolyn. Anna's feeling a little sick, I think. But Carolyn wanted to try cacao, and then my shipment of strawberry came in, so I wanted to give her one. Okay, so I'll be drinking those. You can have more if you want. Help yourself. And we'll get into it, right? So if there's anything that I've mentioned doing anywhere in my content, whether it's like a specific framework or something as general as like you said you were gonna make this kind of content, you know, where is it? Are you still doing it? You know, whatever. Or a type of content I stopped, ask, and I would be happy to answer you. Because TennoCon is tomorrow, I wanted to get this done before there's a bunch of news about Warframe that I'm going to want to cover, you know, we're going to want to talk about, because that's important. I don't want any of that to fall through the cracks, and I want you all to know that I didn't forget about, like, all the different things that I want to do. I've just been very busy, and working on some of it behind the scenes, so I figured we'd talk about it. So if you have any questions at all about that, go, shoot. That's why we're here. Meme Decayed, you said, managed to make my Boar Prime work. Riven is 141% multi-shot and 3.4 punch through. Yeah, the multi-shot sounds good. I would love damage. Punch through is interesting on board prime. I feel like that's actually pretty good. It's not a bad spraying weapon. That's interesting. I would still love damage, as we talked about before, but that's cool. I'm glad to hear it went well. You can pop out this chat, can't you? Yes, you can. Haha. Nice. I've not popped out YouTube chat before, but that's my new interface. Okay, let's put that like over there. Awesome. Leviathan, welcome. It's me, Kevin. Welcome back. What's going on? Okay, let's tell the world we're here, yeah? If we can. if that doesn't break, which it often does. Yeah, it's worth trying again, but don't, you know, I feel like that's still a pretty good roll. Nothing to not care about. Boop. Asriel, you said, yay, it's been so long since I had the time to see your streams. Well, welcome back. I'm glad to see you. Leviathan, don't talk about spoilers for the sacrifice. Console just got it. You're going to spoil it for a lot of people. Since you already said that, I'm going to quietly say it was about that. You're thinking of it too literally. Not in the immediate, like, present time. But there was. Again, I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to spoil people. Please don't talk about it without flagging it as a spoiler. But there was. It was indeed about a sacrifice. Just maybe not in the very literal sense. But it was. I actually really liked that. I liked that it wasn't such a literal thing. That Volt has a regular shoulder coil for some reason. Yep, it's got a regular one and a prime one. This skin is already asymmetrical. Some of you may know, I really don't like Volt's default model. This is janky fashion I made, which I actually think doesn't look that bad now that I come back to it. But I really don't like Volt's default model. I have a lot of skins for it that people really like, but I don't like them. The Grax skin is really nice. I just don't really like it. I don't know why. I just don't. I don't like Volt's default model. I just don't. So I like this skin, the Proto skin. A lot of people don't like this skin. In one of Joey Zero's videos, he reviewed this and said how I had said, he said a friend of his, it was me, said that this skin looks the least like a Warframe of all of the skins we have. And I said that affectionately. He agreed, but not affectionately. I don't love this skin, but I do like it more than Volt's normal appearance, but it is inexorably asymmetrical. There's nothing you can do about that. There's no way to fight it. You don't want to try to make this skin look not asymmetrical. It's going to look like ass. So I decided to just embrace it and focus on making it asymmetrical. So as you can see, I have a through line of like prime there. That sort of matches with this leg sheath thing. And then this one sort of like offsets that a little bit. And then you have the leg, which has that. Anyway. You embrace the asymmetrical appearance and really do something with it. I have a spur on this side because it doesn't clip with the cloak on that side, etc. I think that is the only way to make this skin look good. I really like this appearance. A lot of people don't, but I will stubbornly keep it no matter what. You cannot make me get rid of it. Okay. Let me tweet out the things to the people live on YouTube with Lil AMA stream. Come ask your questions. Why are we singing? La. Oh, whoop. No. Okay. Still sometimes fumble with my new keyboard. It's not really new anymore. You know what I mean. Okay. Okay, Benamara, sorry to get to you late. You said, I have a suggestion, utilizing Octavia's mallet with Equinox's maim and rad procs. Interesting. So what you're talking about is like, ooh, does that work? So you want to use Octavia's mallet to make enemies like attack into that, and then that'll charge maim pretty fast, yeah. as much as killing, you know, with anything will. And then why Radprox? I'm interested, but I'm not convinced. Sell it to me. Interesting. Okay. Ponzio, you said, what is your opinion about Umbra and its passive? Well, if you don't want to see the Umbra Warframe, I'm not going to spoil anything about the story, but I am about to flash you my Excalibur Umbra loadout. So if you don't want to see that, look away for a little bit and I'll ping in chat when I'm not showing it anymore. I actually really like the passive. I think that it's a little bit tame. Like it's not anything crazy, but there are, like, it does offer some interesting build things. And it possibly opens the door for like operator-centric loadouts that I'm interested in existing. I actually came up with one that I thought was like kind of good. But it's for Nyx, and we all know how I feel about Nyx. She needs rework, needs to be Vlad. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that in a world where we could mod operator guns, which I don't necessarily want us to be able to do. There are some people who want us to be able to mod operator guns. I actually don't overall. I don't think it's an awful idea, but I don't think it's a great idea. I think there are problems with it. In a world where we could mod operator guns, it would be very interesting to have Umbra fighting alongside you with your modded operator guns. There could be very interesting synergies there. And there are already some interesting synergies. For example, I've noticed that the AI handles burst fire weapons very well. It will kind of like weirdly tap fire with auto weapons. It doesn't like auto them that much, but it will use burst fire weapons rather effectively. You're kind of forcing the AI to commit to a lot of shots whenever it decides to shoot, and that is effective fairly. And it would be cool to have a loadout where you could synergize with that with your operator. I don't think you can actually do that now to like much of a meaningful effect, but you know, whatever, kind of a thing. Zez Odeman, welcome. What's going on? How you doing? Benamara, I don't see what radiation does. I'm asking you to explain what the radiation does in that combo. It's interesting, but I don't understand what the radiation does. As far as I'm concerned, it seems like you're basically just charging Maim normally, and then Mallet is indeed a good skill, but they don't actually have synergy. It's just like they are both good skills. Let me scroll back. Someone asked. Okay, the Mallet thing. Garbuglia, you said, don't you think the Tenno is way too rude to Ortis throughout the various quests? What if in the end he turns on us and becomes the final villain? I don't know. Ortis Ortis is kind of a plot device. I'm gonna say it. I think Ortis is a innocent, but a plot device. Ortis is there so that we can be given information in a way that, so like when you have a game where you're a meaningful player, right? If we lose some other informant we have, then we have a problem, because we need someone to be able to tell us stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just have no one who can talk to us and tell us things. Like, it won't be good, because we can't really progress the plot. Our character would just have to like Deus Ex Machina something out of their ass. That's not good. So Ortis is there as a figure that is like literally programmed to be on our side, so that, with one exception that I won't, spoil, that is pretty much always going to be on our side, so that they can give us information and move things forward, whatever it is, whether it's the plot or whatever. Ortis may have a backstory that I am aware of, but I think that the reason I think that Ortis is going to remain mostly an ally, because the story kind of needs us to always have someone who's on our side. I agree it would be cool to have like Orden Karras as like more of a thing, but I don't know. I do think it's important for a game designed like this, story-wise, to have a character who sort of like is inexorable, and will be there to like tell you stuff. That is important. There is some need for that. Dominic, you said what weapons are good for giving energy? Kind of no, none. But of course there are some that give energy. So Dominic, you're looking for things that have the Suda power or the Red Veil power. Those weapons will give energy when they do their radial burst. Those are the only weapons that give energy. So if it's a Suda weapon, so that could mean a Suda weapon augment like these, or it could mean one of the ones with one baked in, like the Synoid Simulor or Synoid Gammacore. Remember, the melee weapons don't have them baked in. Or Red Veil stuff, again, could be the weapon augments, or it could be the weapons with the effects baked in, which are where? Okay, down here. I was like, what in the world? Yeah, so those. In general, I have always said, and I will continue to say, that I do not think you should rely on a weapon to be restoring your energy as like a main feature of your build. It's not enough. You will not get enough. The radial explosions have a cooldown, and they don't restore that much. It's not enough to be like something you rely on in your build, but it can be a feature that you add. It can be something that's helpful. It can be like just enough, you know, and that's valuable, sure. Among the things that have these abilities, I think Rakta Cernos, Rakta Dark Dagger, if you're going to use it a certain way, the Super Vandal. The Embolist is usable now. It strips armor pretty nasty. What other ones? Synoid Gammacore, obviously, are some of the better options. But truthfully, I think they're overvalued. I don't think they're worthless, but I think they're overvalued. Those energy restoring things. Judgmental Weirdo, nice name, considering your very nice comment. Hey Zandy, really enjoyed your framework series. Judgmental Weirdo. Inspired me to develop my own themed Ivara build using the Corinth. Cool, tell me about it. That sounds cool. Black Note, you said Burst and Prime plus Umbra equals Groffit. Burst and Prime is kind of bad. It's not awful, but it's not that strong. It falls behind a lot of the other burst fire weapons a bit. Its damage is a little low. Good status, rather lacking crit stats. Barely worth crit. In fact, I think this weapon is better fired automatically. Like, I think this weapon is just bad, period. Unless you macro fire it really, really fast, which I'd be happy to show. And then it's like, okay. I really like the Burst and Prime. I don't know why. I enjoy firing it. Maybe I like its sound. Maybe I like the rhythm of it. But I don't think it's actually that good. Like that, yeah. Like, I'm gonna click. Even if you click pretty fast, like, realistically, like, come on, you know? Whereas, like, that, not awful. The accuracy is not that good, though. I'll show that. As you can see, it's a little all over the place. Not awful, but a little all over the place if you fire it that fast. We can shoot it at some boys if you'd like to see that. Oh, I see Judgmental Weirdo. That makes sense. I always forget that a lot of people name themselves that way. Maybe as a content creator. So you can see, even if I don't spam like I was before, like shooting with these like plotting rhythm, it doesn't actually make it like better. You know, it makes it a little bit better, but not really. It makes the time to kill about the same, and wastes less ammo, but you have to like really aim for it to be even decent, and even then it's not, you know, you need like almost an entire magazine for like sortie 3 heavy units. Like that's not that good, unfortunately. It's still fun though, and it's got a syndicate power, so it's alright. Again, I don't overvalue those, but you know, they exist. Like it's not like they don't do anything. They're good. Truth is a decent proc for this kind of weapon to have. Whew. Finally unlocked Limbo after selling him a couple of times. No. Ottoman, no. Ooh, you tried Umbra with the Opticore and it wasn't that bad. I tried it with the Tsar. I wasn't thrilled, but the Opticore, that sounds interesting. Judgmental Weirdo, that's interesting. That's interesting. Using Silent Battery with the Corinth. Why the Corinth, though? Not that the Corinth is not a lovely weapon. Dominic, I hope your friend gets value out of my info playlist. I want to add more stuff to it. Like, there's a lot of things I still want to make in there, but I simply have not had time yet. But that's like a pretty immediate priority. So that will be something. You know, feel free to ask your friend or have him tell me what he wants, like what is in there that they would like to see. Yeah. And I would be happy to add more stuff like that. Because a lot of the problem is like, there are some things I don't want to make a tutorial for because I really do feel it's kind of a waste. Like, if you're going to give people the advice to check the wiki for stuff, then there's some kinds of tutorial videos that you really shouldn't make. Like, not that you shouldn't, but like, it's sort of counterproductive. Like, you should, you know, for the teach a man to fish thing. And one example of that would be like, you know, making a video about, let's say, you know, like low mastery rank weapons that are good. You know, like I would rather make a video saying it doesn't really matter and you should just get weapons that you can get and check the wiki for mastery ranks, you know. For like things like trading, like you can understand about trading by looking it up. Like, so stuff like that, I want to encourage people to look it up. But then there are some things that like are just not adequately explained. And reading the wiki is not a good way to learn about them, even if it does provide the information, which it doesn't always. So, for example, like corrupted mod runs, like I think that warrants further explanation. Things like, I'd probably do this in the same video, nightmare mod runs, much easier to explain visually than to read. Some things like that. Another really good one is damage types. It's quite cumbersome to like read through damage types. Watching a video on them is much more useful. And I have a fairly bad, in my opinion, not a very good video on that topic, and it's very popular. Like, it's been one of the most successful videos I've made, and it's still really bad. Well, judgmental weirdo, what I mean is like, but why specifically the Corinth? Like, I don't doubt the damage is good, but like the Corinth has good damage. I don't know. I just mean like, why specific? You know me and my framework thing. Like, for me, there has to be a reason to do the Corinth specifically. You know, it doesn't have to be that way for other people. It's just how I make my builds. Gabe, you said, now that the sacrifice is out on consoles, could you talk about your general feelings on the update? I feel somewhat underwhelmed. Sure. Without talking about spoilers or anything, I can talk about that. I just want to say really, really quickly that although I don't mind answering general questions, because this is usually what we do on my streams, I intended it to be that, like, if you have questions about, like, my content, like, there's content you want and you're not seeing it, that you can ask about that. So if you have questions about that, Ask them. Do it. But it's fine to talk about this stuff too. No one is asking those questions, so obviously there's no reason not to. A meme decayed really quickly. You said I got 149% status on my comb ribbon, but I got cold as well and negative critical chance. That's fine. That sounds good. Meme decayed, that sounds great. I would keep that. Cold is perfectly reasonable. Cold is a good damage type. Build user corrosive dual stat mods, and then the critical chance on the comb is not that good anyway. That sounds good. I want that. If you, that sounds awesome. So yeah, Gabe, Gabe, what I would say is, I think that what happened with the sacrifice is that people were expecting, it was advertised a certain way, at TennoCon last year, and people were expecting a certain thing. They were showed, a new type of Warframe, so they thought, were meant to believe, and then we didn't really get that. We mostly got a story drop, and a rather beautiful story drop it was, but a short one indeed. And a lot of people approached it, a lot of content creators approached it in a manner of like talking about how long it was or how much content it added, and that was never the purpose of that update. That is not why they made it. They do not care how long it is. I'm sure they are painfully aware that people are going to say, it's not long enough, whatever. But that is not why they made it. That was not their goal. People are disappointed because that was not what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a story. They were trying to make a vignette. And a rather pretty vignette they made, I believe. And that's that, From there we have a really pretty story drop, and it does add gameplay features, but not, big ones. It's not going to keep you in the game way longer or anything. And I just don't really feel that matters. I know that a lot of people were looking for that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. It seems like I keep spacing out, but I'm just like trying to think of how to say it in like a way that the people who are saying the sacrifice is underwhelming will resonate with, instead of like what makes sense to me. I never expected what you were probably expecting. And so I was not disappointed. This doesn't do the whole thing. But I would recommend watching SkillUp's video on it. You might find it to be a useful, different perspective. He explains what I am trying to explain relatively well, although not super quickly. It's like about 9 minutes long. I'll link that video if you are interested. But I don't think it's the whole story. I think that he is, if I may be a little bit critical of a video I really liked, SkillUp, I think that he was a little bit overly focused on, hold on one sec. I think he was a little bit overly focused on the beauty of the sacrifice, and for him, as somebody who plays a lot of different games, I feel that it's not necessary to have there be a lot of content because he plays a lot of games. He's a a general reviewer. So I think he's naturally going to enjoy this kind of update more than most players, which is fine. Bias is totally okay. I just wanted to point out, I don't think it shows the whole story, but I think it's a good way to describe some of its value. Yeah, my cat was whining for attention, so I sent her to go play with Anna and Carolyn, who might have taken a walk, but anyway, not with me, because there are a lot of people asking stuff and I want to answer it. Adrian Mansfield, you said, "Hey Zandy, what happened to budget fashion frame?" Again, my answer to a lot of these questions is going to be nothing, It's not like I don't want to do it anymore, I just haven't been doing it. Budget fashion frame is a little bit tricky because in principle, you kind of can't. The only part of this game that is pay to win is the fashion frame. You just don't have very many options if you don't have any cosmetics. If you will not buy any cosmetics, then you just don't have very many options. And it's not effective to say, you know, Barokatir has this cosmetic, because if he doesn't have it right now, then, you know. And also, like, we have 3 relays right now, and one of them requires, like, MR8 or whatever. So if he's there, then you can't, you know what I mean? So budget fashion is, like, sort of impossible. You kind of can't do it, which is why it's hard to cover. But sometimes there are times when, like, there's a really good way to describe, like, a way to make cool fashion for someone, like the Rhino budget fashion video I did, or like maybe a holiday, when we get a holiday color palette. Those are opportunities to talk about fashion that can look good but be cheap. And what I'm more likely to do when those are not happening is make videos about why you can't make good budget fashion. For example, if you don't have any color palettes, let's look at that, then you're only going to have this single column of classic, right? Part of the problem here is that you don't have black. Like, you don't really have anything dark, actually. Like, even if you go through all these colors, like, they're not really dark enough. I know I strayed off the middle a little bit. And so you can't really create contrast. You can't create balance in your fashion. So if the frame is a little bit too bright, you're screwed. You can't make it look good. If the frame is too dark, you're good to go. You have some whites, you have some weird grays with color in them that are good. These are nice colors. You have brown, you know, and then you have some nice colors. These are reasonable colors. And you can potentially do it. You have some good energy colors. But it is hard to make budget fashion because of that. So without any color palettes, without access to any color palettes, you really don't have a lot of options. Sheepy says they should make the whole classic palette free. I agree. I really wish they would do that. Or make smoke free. Like, that would kind of fix the problem. I would be cool with, like, smoke or whatever. A video I plan to do pretty soon is a video recommending color palettes. Like, if you're only going to buy, like, 1 or 2 color palettes, ones I would recommend. So you don't have to buy, like, I own every color palette, correct? Besides Xmas. So, like, there are some that I would recommend. Like, Storm is a pretty good value color palette. Grenier has always been an excellent value color palette. Let's see some other ones. Daybreak is a new favorite of mine. Corpus is pretty nice. Has some good dark colors, with texture to them, not just plain dark colors. I also think that Twilight is a decent single palette to own. Tenno is not awful. It's annoying to use, but it's not awful. Yeah, that. So again, nothing happened to it really, but it's hard to make that kind of content. Somebody asked, Nasco, you said, how is the new Zaw cookbook coming along? Pretty well, actually. So we made all of the parts on Wednesday's stream. We farmed literally all of the materials we needed. So you can't see any of it in my foundry because we farmed all of it. I'll actually go to... I'll go to Cetus and show you all the parts. So I've built the first one. I'm leveling them all up. We're probably going to do that during TennoCon. I'm going to be streaming for like most of the day during TennoCon. And I'll level them all up. And then we should be pretty much good to go. There are not that many strenuous builds I need to make. Like, it's not like there are a lot of builds that take a lot of forma or anything. So it should be pretty quick. Like, as soon as I make them and guild them, we should be good to go. I have the standing to guild them. Here are all the parts. As you can see, I have a bunch of heads, grips, mostly a Quantitai 2, links, etc. So I'll be building all of those. And then I have the other half of the Zaws already. and then we'll make it. So it will be, to clarify, the first Zaw appendix is going to be kind of defunct. I'm not going to get rid of it or anything, but it will be obsolete. This video will not only add the new Zaws, it will also update all of the ones from the Zaw appendix. So it's not just going to be like, it was going to originally just be the new ones, but because I'm changing some of them, like I have a better build for some of them, it will be updating all of them. So it will be a fresh start for all of them. That video did very well and was a lot of fun to make, so I'm excited to do it again. Let me catch up on questions. So Gabe, just to respond again to the thing you said about the sacrifice, no spoilers. You said I was underwhelmed because the Umbra story felt a bit disconnected from the rest of the stories. I can feel that. That is not the same reason a lot of people have said that they feel underwhelmed with it. I sort of agree. Like, Gabe, I feel like they didn't integrate that into the rest of the game's lore. I'm speaking very evasively so that I don't spoil anyone, as well as they could have, and I would have loved it if they did. But I think that they will explore that more. Like, as long as they touch on that again, I would be fine with that. So I don't know, Gabe, a lot of the time when they do an update, I'm most excited about like more of that thing. So like when they gave us Plains of Eidolon, I was like, well, what I like about this most is Plains of Venus. I think that while there's only one open world environment, it's singular and can become stale, but when there are like them on every planet or whatever, it's something that will probably feel more fresh when there's like many of them to go to, and they're just a natural part of the game experience. Like, you go to a planet and there's naturally like some open world on some of the planets, and you go to that and it's a mix of them, you know? I think that will make it better. Southin, you said you should make a channel trailer explaining your channel streams and content. I would like to be able to spread your channel by word of mouth, and linking a quick 3 to 5 minute video would be awesome. I'll make it much shorter than that. Southin, that's actually my priority this month, is to get framing content made. So I'm planning on making, there's quite a lot of it, a channel trailer, which is going to be around 30 seconds, if not shorter. I don't have any idea what it's going to be honest with you. That's the only thing keeping me from doing it. A Patreon trailer, which is very important. I should have done that sooner. That's probably going to be 1 to 2 minutes, and is important for the patrons. Most Patreons have a visual and video, a textual and video description of what they are, and I think that's important. Also a video advertising the Joey Zero Weekly Warframe show. From my perspective, sort of like framing content for what happened with it and what is happening in the future with it. I'm going to make a playlist on my channel that's like the episodes of the Joey Zero Weekly Warframe show, but then like between them there will be short videos of like my commentary on parts of it, or editing. Like, for example, the first episode had like terrible audio, horribly corrupted audio, so I'm probably gonna omit that one and put my segment in on its own, and then do the second episode and like explain that. And then there was a gap in time, so I'll explain that, and then like now it's on hiatus, so I'll explain that. So then that'll be like, you can watch like a director's cut, like not that I was the director at all, but you know what I mean, like of the show, and experience that a little bit. So that should be cool. I want to do that. And then also Patreon sample content. That's less framey, but yes, but it's something I'm going to do. Good question. I am going to make that. I fully intend to make that. A lot of the problem, to be completely blunt with you, is that my skin broke out really badly, and I didn't want to make a bunch of face cam videos when I didn't look the way I want to present myself. I know that seems kind of self-conscious and like childish, but it is. I'm being honest with you. That's just how I felt. So I'll make those as soon as I can. Daniel, you said, now that exalted weapons don't need stat sticks, are there any cooler fun combos you can think of? Daniel, I actually feel it removed some. I think that the exalted weapons not needing stat sticks is actually like an anti-framework thing, because stat sticking, like picking a stat stick that was significant in some way, was a way to add synergy to your build. And now that the stat stick is just like irrelevant, it often removes synergy from builds, which is, I mean, I still think it's a good feature. It's just, it doesn't happen to be good for the kind of content I plan to make. And there are very few things that I can think of that are like new synergies. But Daniel, I'm sure there are some, and it is a project I am currently working on. You might have noticed that I've been flipping through frameworks, and this is the beginning of Framework 2.0, which I have been preparing in the background for months now. I started about 4 months ago, slowly when I had time, and a lot of them are nearing completion, and we will probably start the second run of Framework this year, at the very least, probably within a few months, I hope, once I finish the new ones. Let me read back in chat. Brolo, you said, I'm a filthy mag main. Do you think it's worth buying her Arcane helmet? Not really. The Arcane helmets are not like a huge deal, but I will check hers really quick. You said, what's the plus and minus of the Aquanagi 2? It's 14% crit, 25% status, and the fastest possible attack speed bonus. Avosk, welcome back. What's going on? Hitesh, yeah, we're back on YouTube after a while. We should probably talk about that, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. There's some streaming YouTube problems. Judgmental Weirdo, you said, how good should your internet be to start streaming? Not bad. It doesn't have to be crazy. Like some of you know, I have like insane tier, like godlike internet, like the internet of the gods. It is like the fastest internet in existence. But that's not fucking necessary. You don't need to do that. I would say that you want your internet to be like, you should be able to stream high quality video, like 4K video. Go find some 4K video and stream that while playing Warframe. Like, that should look good. And if it does, then you're probably good to go. Your computer needs to be, your internet connection needs to be able to handle multitasking. And that is a very rough way of saying it. Like, I could give you a bit rate, but like for most people, that's not going to have a lot of meaning. So make it do some potent video encoding or rendering and play Warframe at the same time. And if it's okay, then you're probably fine. I recommend setting your bitrate to 3,500 on your streaming software as a base to start. Good question. Nasco, you said, after the melee rework, do you think it'll make your Zaws suboptimal again? No. I do not think it will matter. The melee rework is interesting. It does cause problems for Framework. We do have to wait until we do have to wait to see about what happens, But I think that the melee rework is mostly just going to change the way we use melee weapons, and I don't think that it is going to change how we build them that much. If you think about it from the perspective of the developers, they don't want to overhaul everything, because then everybody's going to be mad about their builds not having the forma in the right place or whatever. And they also just made new melee mods in the Sacrifice. Which is a tiny spoiler, but it's only mechanical, which leads me to believe that they're probably not going to change it in or let me say it this way, at least they do not think that they're changing it in a way that is going to, because that's different. But I would say likely the changes to like what builds are good are not going to be drastic. They're probably going to exist. But I would imagine that this build, which is good now, is probably going to be good then. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. I actually think that it is more likely that some of those builds will get better because they are focused on having solid fundamentals, whereas a lot of people are just focusing on like scaling crit only like crazy. I think hybrid builds are likely to survive the change better. I think that pure crit and pure status builds less so, but pure crit builds especially, I really don't know why people ever make those. It's not really ever necessary. But those builds will probably suffer from this change, whereas other builds I do not think it will be such a big deal. That's a guess. I don't know for sure. and I am taking a risk by making a ZA appendix video before they make those changes. If we hear about when those changes are coming at TennoCon, then I'll probably put the brakes on. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. That's a good question, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. However, for framework, I do think it's going to be bad. I am not going to start the second run of framework until they launch the melee changes. It does cause a lot of problems. I'm pretty sure it will cause a lot of problems. There will be synergies with heavy attacks and stuff. I think it is important to wait for that. Good question. Eli, you said, how well did the second channel plan work? Or are you still waiting for conclusive results? It went relatively well. It would be going better if I had had more time to make content for it more. But I still plan to. It's still something I'm going to explore. It remains to be seen how necessary it is, because Eli, it appears that YouTube may have lifted its blacklisting from a lot of channels. I realized a little while ago, that a few weeks ago, that since they didn't admit they did it in the first place, they're not gonna say they stopped doing it. You know what I mean? So I think that they probably did. They probably just quietly fixed it, you know, and hoped that everybody would be like, well, what was that about? You know, no, I have not forgotten that you completely screwed me over, but like, if you stopped, that's good. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it's kind of fine now. We will see. I plan to prioritize the main channel, and develop the other channel as a backup, but mostly with content that is a little bit off kilter from the main channel. Still good content that I want to make, but content that I don't think is as important to have in the same place as my big bulk of my content. I may also stream on the second channel, because streaming is possibly damaging this channel, which I'm doing now before we start up content again. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Good question. Brooks, welcome. Sorry I didn't get to you for a little while, but welcome. I'm glad that people that are big fans get to be on a YouTube stream every so often, which is most of the reason I do YouTube streams. Brolo, you said Rio mentioned that Life of Rio mentioned that he wanted some kind of endless high-level Plains of Eidolon mission, like a survival or defense in the open world. I think that would be sick. In general, I think PoE needs more better mission types. That would be really cool. I think that the concern, Brolo, is that keeping people in the plains for a long time is tricky. It is difficult from a server perspective, I would imagine. To keep those gigantic spaces open on like a server, it is tricky. But I would like to see that too. That would be cool. Plains is a good place for it, because open world Venus will be bigger and thereby worse for it. So yeah, that would be cool. That sounds fun to me. Like a zombie defense thing, you know? With the ghouls. With the ghouls! Come on, DE, use the ghouls. I don't know, maybe they'll do that. I wouldn't be surprised if we got that. If at TennoCon they said, like, we're doing that, I would not be surprised. That's a cool idea. Spank Tank, welcome. What's up? I'm glad you found me. So yeah, Avosk, you said, how are the channel issues going? I sort of addressed it before. I think that YouTube has quietly fixed things a little bit. I want to highlight that, again, we don't really know, because they didn't really say like how much or whether like all of the stuff that's wrong on YouTube is just broken, or like they intended it to be that way. I suspect it's both. It's a mix of both. And so some things that are improved might be like they never intended them to be bad. They were just literally broken. Or it might be that they did intend them to be bad, and then they came to their senses and fixed their site. I don't know. But I'm cautiously optimistic. It seems like the only channels that are experiencing bad juju right now are like literally gun channels. And I think for those channels, not that I don't sympathize with some of them, because they're good channels, oftentimes not problematic. It is still complicated. You can't just blindly put advertising on that. It is simply too political a subject. You cannot just ask for blind whitelisting of that type of content. That is more of a problem. For video games, I would argue you mostly can ask for blind whitelisting. Everybody understands the difference between a video game and real life. It doesn't really matter if the video game is kind of violent. Everybody gets the difference. It's the 21st century, and I think that YouTube may have come around to that. I would like to think they came around to that. Good question. Hitesh, you said, I've replaced Organ Shatter with Condition Overload in Sylvan Aegis Prime. Is that good? Why not both? Do both. It depends what your build is. Hitesh, there's no, you can't just give a one note answer for that. It depends what your build is. I use both, and Organ Shatter is actually better in mine. Condition Overload is only for overkill in this gas-focused build. So it depends what your build is. I think in general, Condition Overload is the more important mod. But truthfully, if you have a hybrid build, these are two of the stronger mods in the build, and they should both be there. I would literally cut like Drifting Contact before I would cut Organ Shatter. They're under a lot of circumstances. Or like Berserker even. These are the like two of the better mods in the besides like Blood Rush. You know, so yeah. So yeah, I mean, you'd have to tell me you'd have to tell me specifically what your build is for me to answer that better. Burlo, you said, do you expect a big melee update at TennoCon? They already announced a very large melee update quite a while ago, and we've been expecting it for a while. I would not have been surprised if we got it before TennoCon, but now it's TennoCon, so so apparently not. But I think they are mostly done with it, and they have been working on it for half a year now. So it is probably, you know, not solid, but for, you know, on and off. So it's probably pretty soon. Yes, there is a large melee overhaul coming. All the melee weapons are probably going to get rebalanced, except the good ones. That's how they did it before. The bad ones will get better. The good ones will stay about the same. Zaws will probably stay about the same because they're among the best weapons in the game, etc. Yazid, you said, can I ask you how specters work with mods? They don't. That's how. Good question. But as far as I'm aware, the answer is they don't. I'm not an expert on specters, so if I'm wrong about that, somebody should correct me. Spank Tank, you said, hey, your voice sounds better today. You feeling better? Yeah, that was weird. I don't know what was up with that. I got sick for like 5 seconds. Like literally 2 nights ago, I had like a tickle in my throat, and then I woke up in the middle of the night with a sore throat feeling really sick. And I was like, I have a cold or something. What the hell? And then the next day, I streamed. I was not feeling good, but I was feeling all right. Had some drugs, some Tylenol, you know, and got onto stream. And literally while streaming, I felt like better. And then I went to sleep and I felt fine. Like, what happened? What is this, like, 18-hour sickness? I don't know. That was bizarre. I don't know what to tell you. Spank Tank, it blew over. Something, the heavens opened up and I feel better now. I don't know what to tell you. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I was sick for like 5 seconds, but now and I felt pretty bad. Like, it wasn't like a minor thing. Like, I felt pretty crappy like last night, but now I just feel completely fine. I feel like the tiniest bit funny, but like barely, literally barely. Spank Tank, you also mentioned that Dokramza with 60 crit chance. No weapon has 60 crit chance. Would have been one of those 24-hour bugs. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. Anyway, it's weird, though. Earlier, and tying into what Brolo said about the Nikana being good, by the way, it's not really, but I'll talk about that in a sec. Shix, if you're still here, sorry for missing you before. You said, so 1 Za for each strike. Not exactly. Shix, the way the Za appendix worked before and the way it will work now is that there are some strikes where it's not worth making a Za for them. Like, all things being equal, I wouldn't recommend making a Za for that strike at all, or for like that type of weapon. It's just not worth it. There isn't a reason to use it unless you just want to, or you have like a very specific use case possibly. So for some strikes and or melee categories, like for example, scythes are just bad. I would not recommend making a scythe Zaw. They're just not good. Like it's not better than anything. It will never be an upgrade for anything. You already own a weapon that is better if you are thinking of making a scythe Zaw. Pretty much all the time, and if you don't, then you could pretty much make any other random Zaw and it will be better. So I wouldn't recommend making those, for example, so I won't be showing a scythe Zaw. Because I don't think you should make one. The way I usually do my content is I invest in what I think you should invest in. If you like everything, if you want to experience everything in the game. And so I'm going to show you a heavy blade Zaw, and I'm only going to show you one because I think there's one that is the good one. And then if you had a very specific use case, then maybe you'd make another one. And then I'll show you like one hammer, whatever. And then there are some kinds of weapons, like polearms is the one that will be for me, where I can think of two that I recommend. And so I will probably show two. And then, I'll mention some others that I would recommend. Let me go back. Catsith, you said, how do you personally go about testing a new build? Also, anywhere similar to Hydron for leveling, but different tile set. Yeah, Catsith, let me answer the second question first. If you don't want to level in Hydron because you're bored of it, that's what it sounds like for you, which is a perfectly good reason not to do it. Hydron is definitely really good, but you can also do Akkad. Has been popular for a while. I do believe it to be a little bit slower. But it is not bad at all, and some of the resources that drop there are better. And it's a dark sector, so you get better resource drop rate, so that's good. So you can do that. If you are using gear that is relatively good, I usually say no matter what you have, you don't need to bring another weapon to like help you clear Hydron. If the weapon you're trying to level up is literally any good and you're like MR 10 or higher, you'll be able to put enough mods on it that it will be functional. Like, you'll be able to clear Hydron with it. Hydron is easy. Akkad is easy. Like, you don't need to bring something else to, like, help you kill stuff. You could level in Sanctuary Onslaught. It's slower, but you get much better rewards. You get rewards at all, I would almost say. And it is almost the same in a way, because most good weapons will be able to clear it, even if they're not leveled. But you don't want to bring, like, mastery fodder to it, that's a bad idea. And unless the Warframe, if you do a Warframe, unless they're pretty powerful at like a low level, I wouldn't, like you could do Nidus, but like I wouldn't do, say, maybe like Mag or Banshee are a bit weak when they're not fully leveled, in my opinion. Wouldn't bring them, but like I formed a Nidus doing Sanctuary Onslaught, and it was a good time and it was rewarding. So that you could do that. Sometimes in Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, if I'm not going to use one of my weapons, I'll leave like an unleveled weapon in there. But mostly I wouldn't recommend doing that. Take it seriously. Don't rob your squad mates of taking it seriously. So be careful, use discretion, but like that's a thing you can do, which can be fun and a good way to get rewards. And then Akkad is another alternative. Another thing that I sometimes do is endless fissure missions. Again, as long as the weapon is good enough, it's not bad. And you said, how do you personally go about testing a new build? Usually I just attack level 80 heavy enemies. Any good build should be able to kill. There are no good builds that cannot kill level 80 like Corpus and Infested, but can kill level 80 Armored Grineer. So I test against Heavy Gunners and Bombards usually, and then I play it like just in random, I just play it. Or, I play it where I expect it to be good, and then feel it out, and if it holds up, then usually I say it's good. That's usually how I do it. Catsith, a lot of the time I'm testing things in the context of loadouts, so I test them with the loadout. I usually just play it. I'll have it fight some 80 bombards and heavy gunners to make sure the DPS actually holds up. Maybe test out different ways to deal with the armor on the weapon if they're applicable. And then, you know. So yeah, Brolo, you said, are the Nikana any good? No. Nikanas are not good, period, unfortunately. So Nikanas, we've got Nikana Prime, Skijati Newcomer, and Dragon Nikana 2 if you have a Riven. And then Dragon Nikana Prime. This is my Nikana. So I specifically made this to be exactly the same as Nikana Prime. As you can see, it's got just about the exact same attack speed, the exact same crit chance and crit multiplier, and it merely has lower damage. It just has lower damage. It's basically the exact same weapon. It just has less slash and more allocated and lower damage overall. So yes, you can put an Exodia on it, but I don't think any of them are particularly good on Nikanas. And Nikanas in general are a lacking melee type. They are kind of weak. They don't have great cleave, and yet they don't have anything backing up their single target damage. Like rapiers have a lot of force procs. Machetes have their crazy headshot stance. Single swords have Crimson Dervish, which has like a 3x multiplier on every hit. Nikanas don't have anything like that, so they're just inferior to other kinds of weapons, unfortunately. Hopefully we'll get another Nikana stance, a fourth Nikana stance, or they'll buff one of the ones we have and they will get better. But currently they are not very good, and so having one that is just worse than one that already exists isn't really a good reason to use it. They do look interesting, though. I kind of like how they look. Very strange. Having a inherently honed weapon like a Nikana, like a katana, be made in this sort of like cobbled together style is very interesting looking. And I'm quite fond of how it looks, but I don't recommend you use it. Skijati, however, is dank. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's great. Passive is dank. It's really good. Use it. Okay. Mao. Hitesh, in the build for the Sylvan Aegis Prime that you listed, replace True Steel with Organ Shatter. You should always use Organ Shatter before True Steel in all critical builds. It's always better. Not saying True Steel is never good. Organ Shatter is always better, though. Catching up on chat. What do you think of the stealth gameplay in Warframe? It's not very stealthy. Eli, I think there are not compelling reasons to use stealth when you're playing a power fantasy game. And I think that they need to sell it to us better, you know? I think that's the main problem. Dominic, you said, I have a question. Is Warframe still in beta? Technically, but what beta means depends on the game, and Warframe is not meaningfully actually in beta. It just technically it says it is. But like, I guess my answer would be like, what I'm asking you, what does beta mean? And then look at Warframe and tell me if that's what it means. I think you'll find the answer is no. Even if they say it is, if you think about what beta means and then look at Warframe, it's not. You know, like, it's different. Earl Kenny, you said with the Ash Prime drop tomorrow, do you have a build video for it on your channel? Yes, but I have an update for it, and I will hopefully get that done tomorrow. Earl, that's a great question. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow early on stream. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be pretty similar to the one I have. So Ash it was actually the first Warframe I bought. When I started playing Warframe, I knew nothing about it, just like most people, and I foolishly bought some platinum and bought a normal Ash, not Ash Prime. Keep in mind that Ash Prime would have been cheaper than a normal Ash. It is easier to get Ash Prime than a normal Ash. And I bought a normal Ash, whatever. And he was one of the first Warframes I really enjoyed. Kind of a stereotypical, the first Warframe to enjoy, but I like Ash. He is a frame I don't play much anymore because I sort of played him to death for myself. But he's a very old standby, and he is the only frame where my framework previously had no Forma. You could just buy an Ashe and level him up, and my ideal build was 0 Forma. All of the other frames in the game, I require at least 1 to get their framework in, but Ashe previously had 0, and now that's over because of the Umbral mods. I recommend Vitality and Intensify on this build, and that's going to require 2 Forma. For relatively minimal gains, it does have a pretty huge gain in the sense that your so if we look at these, some open space please. If we look at these, you'll see that Umbral Intensify on its own gives you enough strength for Seeking Shuriken to remove all armor with just 1 mod slot. So Umbral Intensify is rather valuable on this build because it frees up an entire mod slot. Previously, people, Power Drift Intensify, you could use Transient Fortitude, but you want the duration for a lot of things, in my opinion, and you're already losing it from fleeting on my build. So I'm going to be removing Intensify, Power Drift, and Vitality, putting in Umbral Vitality and Umbral Intensify, and hopefully getting some value out of my Power Drift slot. I don't know what, but something. Maybe Coaction Drift. And this is also not the Arcane I would run. And it also makes Ashe rather tanky, the extra health from Vitality. Ashe is very good base health, so it will be pretty good. So I'm going to add some Forma to that. This is just a general utility build. This makes all of Ashe's abilities very good. Teleport is basic utility, and Teleport already opens enemies to finishers. You don't need Fatal Teleport for that. I believe this mod to be the most overused mod in the entire game. It literally does nothing. It actually does nothing. Finishers already almost always kill everything in 1 hit, and Teleport costs like no energy anyway. I think most good Ashe builds have good efficiency anyway. This mod basically does nothing. I do not know why people use this so much. It does sometimes give you a successful finisher where you wouldn't otherwise get one, but it's not worth the slot. So you can still do that. Seeking Shuriken to remove all armor. You can do this while firing a gun, so you can just build a viral gun. So I use Soma Prime, but you can use like a insane amount of other weapons. Here's that build for using it with Ashe for sick damage. You can destroy hordes of level 150 enemies from stealth in a matter of seconds, and it's incredible. With Seeking Shuriken spam, which costs like 3 energy per pop or whatever, 5 energy per pop. Smoke Shadow lets you stealth your allies. This is good for carrying noobs, which is valuable, and is just like a decent value. Like being able to stealth other people is good, surprise. And then it's just some duration to keep things stable and some efficiency. Steel Charge actually affects his 4 for some reason. I don't know why. Ashe's 4 is not affected by melee mods, but it is affected by Steel Charge. Why? I don't know. But this means that this is a 60% damage increase for Blade Storm, which is really, really strong. Especially because you're not going to use that much strength, since it doesn't really help Seeking Shuriken that much. At least I'm not going to. So Steel Charge is awesome. Again, I said before, I might use Coaction Drift in this slot once I free up the space from by using Umbral Intensify. So that's what the build is going to be, but yeah, I mean, I'll probably work on that during TennoCon and then make a video about it then. Good question. Somebody asked what the shoulders on my are my Harrow were. Yes, they are from Prime Access. They're from Mirage Prime Access. They're called the Atavist shoulders. Let me show you. Atavist Prime shoulder pads. Also affected by combo counter. Yes, they are. Ashe's Blade Storm is also affected by the combo counter, which means it's also affected by Vanka Prime, which is amazing on him. Anyway, yes, indeed. Harrow, come back to me. Let's catch back up. Brolo, you said, I feel like the Shade is an underused Sentinel. I disagree. I think people who know what they're doing use Shade a lot. I think that most people default to Carrier on most loadouts, and you should be defaulting to Shade. Shade is a more general use Sentinel than Carrier. You usually don't need the ammo, and the stealth is basically always valuable. There's hardly a wrong time to use Prisma Shade, whereas Carrier can be a little useless sometimes. Not that carrier is bad at all, just that I think people default to carrier because out of habit, and you default to shade. Shade is the I don't have any synergy ideas. Sentinel is shade. Um, let's see. Hitesh, I'm glad you like framework for that reason. That makes me happy. Spank Tank, you said, do we have a schedule for TennoCon? Not only from DE, but also for you. Spank Tank, there is a schedule for I don't... Let's go find it. I should have it pulled up. Where is it? Schedule. Nice. Okay. Yes. Here it is. Here's the TennoCon schedule. My schedule is basically to just stream the whole day, but, you know, take breaks. Just stream the whole day and talk about reveals. I'm hoping that my friends that are going to TennoCon, like Joey Zero and such, will inform me of what is going on. And DE also has a pretty good assets folder. I'll be watching, you know, Tenno Live and everything too, and we can talk about stuff as it happens. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that. I'm really sad I couldn't go this year, but there are advantages to being at your setup while it's happening. So I'm looking forward to experiencing that. That will be a good experience. I will probably never miss one again, so I'm excited to experience one here instead. After this year, I will never allow myself to miss one if I can help it. This year I just got blasted. Mr. Fruit, you said, why are we on YouTube? We're on YouTube because I want people to be able to ask questions after the stream ends. And YouTube has a much better comment system. I think Twitch's comment system is kind of bad. It's interesting, but it's not very good, in my opinion. Hiteshi said, Inaros with Legion or Silva and Aegis. I don't think either have synergy with Inaros. So I do not know, whichever one you like. Where is the question I wanted to answer? Yeah, minute 16, I hope that you enjoy both the things. Tenno Live is going to be awesome, but I hope I do a good job covering it. I will try. Mr. Food, I didn't try Ash Noble on Frost. I'll do that right now. I did want to see that. Do I own Ash Noble? No. It's like he's shivering. I sort of like that. That's funny. I would buy that if I had more platinum. That's cool. Oh, all right. We caught up on chat. Nice. For the most part. If anybody has a question that they felt was missed, then, you know, fire away. Dominic, you said, which boss needs a rework? A lot of them. Most of them. What melee would you suggest for Inaros? Look at my framework. But also, lots of things with finishers, because you can do finishers, things that are fast, things that have good base speed. And in general, like, I think you do want healing mechanics on Inaros besides his passive, but you want to mostly use his passive, and so you want something that can do them very fast. Inaros gets 25% of his health back on a finisher, so you want something that can perform a finisher incredibly quickly, which means you want something with good animation speed, and also good, a type of weapon that has fast finisher animations, and also a weapon with high base animation, that is attack speed. You should also note that when you're doing finishers, there's a weird thing where Berserker doesn't increase your finisher speed, but Prime Fury does. I don't know why. Berserker does not increase your finisher speed, even though it increases your attack speed, and Prime Fury does increase your finisher speed by increasing your attack speed. I don't know why, that makes no sense, but it's true. So you want something that has good finisher speed and maybe something that is going to focus on Prime Fury for its ideal build. So maybe use something that's status only instead of hybrid. You might make a better gain there. For example, lots of daggers. You could build a pure condition overload dagger and then use Prime Fury on it, use the fastest parts, etc. That I use as a dagger most of the time. But you could use a lot of things. Like, truth be told, you could use a lot of stuff. Flash the Riper. Riper or Ripper? Welcome. What's up? Maybe Ripper was taken. Avosk, said, I think you missed my Valkyr question. I did. I don't remember a Valkyr question. I'm sorry. Avosk, shoot again. My bad. Dominic, I would not use Healing Return on Inaros. That is much, much slower than his passive. Does Gladiator Vice increase finisher speed? Yes. I had avoided mentioning that because I thought nobody would want to hear it since this mod is so expensive and so rarely good. But it does indeed. If you can find room for it in a build that this mod is in a weird place. But if you could find room for it and justify it, yeah, it does increase finisher speed. With the limbo changes, how do you complete the 3 headshots in a single glide? Explosive weapons. Fire an explosive jump, aim glide, fire the explosive, and explode it when it's above enemies' heads, and you'll get some headshots. Archiplasmor is also a fairly easy way. Jump, aim glide, shoot above the enemies' heads. Pretty easy headshots. Archiplasmor doesn't have a headshot multiplier, but it does indeed still score headshots. They just don't do anything different from normal hits besides counting as a headshot. So that's an easy way to do that. Broler, you said, what's the reason people use the blue polearm stance instead of any of the gold ones? I want to begin answering your question by noting that mod rarity does not denote mod quality. Because mods are rare does not mean they're good. There are plenty of mods that are copper that are still really good. A mod being uncommon silver, not blue, but silver, does not denote whether it's good or not. It does not matter. It happens to be the case that, for example, on this heavy blade saw, the good stances for heavy blades happen to be rare mods and not uncommon mods. But that's random. That's not like by design necessarily. Or if it is, they're very wrong. So the reason that people use Shimmering Blight is what you're asking. Where's my orthos? There you are. The reason people use Shimmering Blight sometimes, I don't. The reason some people do in some cases is because it has a quick melee that does not force you to stop running. You can sprint while using it. It's not really about the combos in the stance. The stance barely has combos. This is one of those old stances where there are like 2 combos. As you can see, there practically are not combos. But it allows you to quick melee without stopping sprinting. That is powerful for running through missions quickly. So that's why people do it. Let's like level up this Zaw while we're talking. That's why. Good question. He said he was thinking about umbrifying Valkyr. Oh, okay. I'm not sure what to say. Yes. Do it. It's good. Valkyr definitely wants all 3 of the mods, in my opinion. Maybe least of all Intensify, but like I think so. And they kind of fit on her. I don't feel Valkyr has a particularly bloated build. She's not pulled in a lot of different directions from a build perspective. So she has room for them. But yeah. Oh wow, so literally only for the quick melee. Yeah. I mean, Brolo, remember, like, not that this is good, but a lot of people don't even use combos. A lot of people don't think that certain kinds of weapons are good because they literally don't even use combos. So a quick melee, I know it seems silly that you'd use a stance just for its quick melee, and it is in most cases. But indeed, the ability to quick melee while sprinting is valuable, especially on frames like Volt or Saren that can run very, very fast. It can be good. It's usually not, but it can be good. It's overused maybe, but it's not a bad thing. In general, you know, quick melee compared to stance combos is, you know, not doesn't get you there, but it's still a factor, sure. Well, we have a Saren, so let's just derp around until they kill everything. Do you accept suggestions for videos? Because I am sick of explaining what aura you should use when. I'd like to redirect those questions to a video of yours. Yeah, I mean, I certainly accept suggestions for videos. I just can't promise anything. I'm picky about the kinds of videos I make, but that's a good idea. Mr. Food, there are kind of two ways that I would think about doing that. In the next version of Framework, I'm kind of going to like set up the frameworks in a way where the series has more value than just talking about the frameworks, which is obviously the main point and the main reason I'm making it. But I'm also going to set it up in a way that, like, sort of by watching the beginning, it explains buildcraft, or like the way I think about buildcraft. I'd be happy to give you a behind the scenes read of that because I already have some of it planned. I will do that in just a sec. Hold on. No, Avask, it's okay. I asked because after doing the math, Umbra Valkyr has Inaros levels of EHP. Yes, indeed. Valkyr's EHP is pretty impressive with Umbra mods. It's definitely good on her. You don't have to do the math to know that, in my opinion. She is perfectly suited for the three things that the Umbra mods give. She is like one of the perfect examples of a frame that wants Umbra mods. How did you not die? Okay. So yeah, I totally agree. Hiteshi said, can you explain how armor works in EHP? Sure, we'll do that while I'm finishing this, and then I'll read you my framework thing that explains some of Mr. Food's question. Mr. Food, for my second part of your answer, though, is that I kind of want to make dedicated build videos about that, like buildcraft videos, excuse me. But I don't know what format would make it the most useful, because a lot of people are not going to search for, like, just what aura do I use, you know what I mean? I will need to think about that a little bit more, and I think that the best place to present that information is Framework. It's not just out of, like, I can put the information there. I think that might be the best way to get it to people. But obviously that's not going to be convenient if you just want to reference a video to people, so I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. That topic in general, Mr. Food, like delivering certain kinds of buildcraft advice to people, has been on my mind for a little while. Because people aren't just going to search for, you know, every single topic. Okay. Let's talk about how armor factors into HP, you said. Hitesh, armor is a negative damage multiplier against damage you take. So when you have armor, you take a % less damage based on how much armor you have whenever your health only takes damage. Armor does affect quick thinking effects, but it doesn't affect armor. It does not affect armor. Say that again for the people in the back. It does not affect armor. So, for example, if I have Harrow, sure, I have 150 armor at base. That is going to apply to my health and give me a certain amount of damage reduction, which off the top of my head I don't know, but it's probably like 20% or something. That's a wild guess. If I get more armor, let's say through Arcane Guardian, then that is going to give me more damage reduction. But the way that armor works is that the more of it you have, the less each point gives. So, like, when you have 150 armor, 600 armor is better than it is if you have 7,000 armor, and then you get 600 more armor. This is probably increasing my damage reduction by a lot, like probably bringing it up to like 50% or 60% or whatever. Again, totally off the cuff. I don't know if those are the exact numbers. It doesn't really matter for this example. You can look it up in the wiki. But if I had like 7,000 armor, which would be like 99.5% damage reduction or whatever, this would give me practically 0 functional damage reduction. Obviously, if I got enough, then it would, but you know. So that's how armor works. It has diminishing returns, you might say. A flat amount of armor is worth less and less the more you have. Obviously, you can be corrosive procced and not whatever, slash procs ignore armor, etc. That. You said Valkyr has the highest, right? Yeah, but it doesn't really matter. Valkyr technically has the highest base armor value. Valkyr Prime has 700. But functionally, like Chroma has the most armor because he's going to have thousands and thousands of it with Vex armor. It is perfectly possible to make a Chroma build with 10,000 armor with Vex armor. Not that you should do that, but you can do it. And in general, what you should keep in mind that it doesn't really matter, like, it sort of matters, but kind of doesn't how much armor you actually have. It matters how much EHP you have. Like, so for example, Inaros doesn't have crazy high base armor. 200 is not bad, but not very good. But he has insane base health, and that's why he's so tanky. It doesn't really matter that he has low armor because he has high health. It doesn't really matter that Valkyr has normal amounts of health because she has high armor. So you don't really care that much about, like, big numbers distract people. It really does not matter. Do not be distracted by the big numbers. It does not matter. For example, another example, let's find a good example. Someone who is higher than average. Yeah. So, no. I said yeah, but no. Korra, sure. Korra has higher than average base health and higher than average armor. Korra is fairly tanky, actually. And it's not that surprising if you think about EHP, but it is surprising if you think about just armor. Do not focus on single big numbers. Focus on total EHP. Yeah, Avast, thanks for the EHP formula. That's helpful. Which do you think is the tankiest frame? Well, Eli, the thing that's hard about that is that you said best. In that statement was the best. Let me answer that in a sec. Not real, you said, so no real point in using Arcane Guardian on high armor frames. Not real, like, you've got the right idea, but I would say, like, that's often not true. For example, Valkyr's base armor is very high, and so functionally, it doesn't do a huge amount to put Arcane Guardian on her. So here you see I have all the Umbral mods at rank 9, and with Umbral Fiber alone boosting my armor, I have almost 2,000 armor. 600 more armor is still not bad. Like, the diminishing returns have not gotten that bad. It's pretty bad on, say, Chroma with Vex armor. That's not very good, but it's not that bad on Valkyr. I would say, like, you have the right idea saying if you have a lot of armor, it's not as good to add Arcane Guardian, and if you have a little armor, that's when Arcane Guardian is super good. But, like, I still think overall you probably want Arcane Guardian on Valkyr. It's not, like, as good, but it, I don't know. It's not bad, you know? Something to think about. Joe, you said, what about Mirage? What about Mirage? What are you asking about Mirage? Yeah, not real. Just to keep in mind that, like, the value of it has gone down, indeed. It may very well still be one of the better arcanes on Valkyr. I can't think of too many arcanes that I think are really good on Valkyr. But if you have a good idea, it's probably stronger in that slot than, like, losing Arcane Guardian on, like, Harrow makes him a piece of paper, for example. So, like, don't do that. But, like, on Valkyr, you're still going to be pretty tanky. Eli, you said, what is the tankiest frame? And the problem with that question is that, like, Harrow has pretty squishy base stats, but he has an ability that makes him invulnerable. So, is he squishy or no? You know, like, Zephyr has, like, bad armor, but terrible armor, but has an ability that blocks all bullets. So is she squishy or no? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You know, like, Loki is like a piece of paper, but he can be invisible forever. So is he squishy or no? You know what I mean? I feel like there isn't really an answer. I think that the Warframe that can functionally, like, sit around getting shot the most is perhaps Rhino with this build. Our Ultimatum maxed out. And a healthy dose of Umbral Fiber and Umbral Intensify if they will fit, which I'm not sure they will. I think functionally that's probably the best build for like just sitting and getting shot for like an indefinite period of time. But like, I'm calling into doubt whether there's really a question. I mean, whether there's really an answer. There was definitely a question. Wow. We're running out of time here, so let me finish up questions as best I can. Mesa's kind of not the same because she can get one-shotted by melee enemies. Or if you were talking about Arcane Guardian, it's very good on Mesa. Yeah, Avosk, I'm holding back on the Arcane Guardianing, you know. Spank Tank, you said smart way for using arcanes is also to think about what would proc a lot. Guardian would proc a lot on Valkyr, so it's not a bad choice. I disagree. I think it doesn't really matter how the arcanes proc. I think you need to look at their proc chance. Sometimes that matters. But I think pretty much all the good arcanes, it doesn't really matter, like, to look at that. Harrow, like, it's undamaged, and then you get armor. So, like, unless you get one-shotted, this is good. It doesn't matter if the frame is like planning to get shot, like it will be good if you want tankiness. I think that I get what you mean, like that's not a bad way to think about it, but like it's more important for like the weapon arcanes. So like for velocity, obviously like if you're not going to get crits, probably don't use this, you know, because it's only 6 seconds. So like even if your weapon has like 10% crit chance and it fires pretty fast, you might be okay, you know. But if not, you know, Arcane Tempo, this is for shotguns. It's got a pretty low proc chance, but shotguns. So you have pellets that have different chances to crit. So functionally, this is good on basically every shotgun if you want fire rate for it. Because even the shotguns with bad crit chance, like they have pellets, so they have such high consistency of getting like a nominal kind of meaningless crit that this will proc consistently. I actually think that the proc conditions of arcanes are like an unexplored, like really interesting but unexplored design space, and don't actually matter very much. Like a lot of the proc conditions are just like very trivial and just can always be achieved. Like getting a headshot is not really that, you know, it's not like you're gonna have a build that can never get headshots, so consequence is bad. Like no, you know, stuff like that. But there are a few where that is very important, like Arcane Ultimatum. Now, usually this is just worse than Arcane Guardian, but like they're like Rhino wants this, and you have to be able to do a finisher. You know, you have to get it. You have to do a finisher. So obviously, it's not going to be good on your Rhino with Iron Skin unless you have a way to reliably do a finisher that you can do when you want. You know, on command when you want that bonus for Iron Skin. You know. So sure, sometimes it's not a bad insight, but I think functionally you can usually ignore that. Speaking of which, yeah, like Joe, Arcane Tempo is really good. This is actually really strong. A lot of shotguns would like some fire rate. Again, let me just make sure I'm not missing too much stuff. But I gotta go soon. Yeah. Anyway. Oof, Ultimatum on Inaros. No, you want Guardian. There's no reason to use Ultimatum on Inaros. I'm just looking at this comb ribbon that one of my people's talking about. I will pass, but it's close. Let me go guild this saw. Would Awakening be redundant on Mesa considering Shooting Gallery, or still good? What does Awakening do? I just went through Arcanes last night, so... Arcane Awakening... Is this the reload damage thing? Oh, no. Not that good. Let me talk about why. Good question. But no. So the reason, actually all of these are bad. So Arcane Awakening, for those that don't know, let's post that in chat so you can follow along. So this gives you a chance when you reload to get damage increase on secondaries. This is bad not because of its effect, but because of how its effect stacks. This is additive with Hornet Strike. Whenever you see anything that says like damage, you should always be suspicious of whether it's additive with Hornet Strike, because functionally, like, this doesn't actually increase your DPS by that much. Like, when it procs, you're functionally getting like more like 33% DPS increase, not 100%, which is why it is not that good. Having this be procced on reload is like interesting, but for most weapons, like, this is just terrible. And even if it's procced all the time on Peacemaker, velocity is better. So unfortunately, it's almost all of those are just never good. The only situation where I think they're sort of good is there are like a very few but some situations where you don't want to run a base damage mod. And in those situations, this can be your base damage mod, so that you like have that multiplier. If you desperately need like loads of utility in a weapon, but you still want to do like okay damage, you can use these mods as base damage mods, like pseudo base damage mods. But these are pretty much always bad. Shooting Gallery actually makes this even worse, because Shooting Gallery is also additive with Pressure Point, meaning that this gives you a minuscule functional DPS increase. Not minuscule, but not very, that was a massive overreaction, but not very high. This will be a D. Stare at that naming screen for a little while. What do you think is optimal for the Glaive Prime? Quick return or no quick return? Quick return. Brolo, if you're gonna throw it at all, Glaive Prime is a fair melee weapon for meleeing. If you're gonna throw it, then I recommend quick return. Yeah, it's not that good. Like, Joe, a lot of people just don't know that the additive math thing, it's not awful, but it's not that good. I'd like to introduce you all to Grimdark, the new heavy blade scythe. Finally get to stop using Rending Crane, which is one of my least favorite stances in this entire game. This beautiful Warframe game we have. I really, really hate that stance. Tempo Royale and Cleaving Whirlwind have spoiled me. Contagion? I guess? I don't know. I don't know what I want there. Ooh, Nightane. Spy. Eh. I don't really want to do that. We'll do Sanctuary Onslaught to level this up. Is there a downside to using two Arcanes? No. Also, Arcanes always are independent of each other. So, for example, like using two Arcane Guardians on Inaros, if you were going to do that, not suggesting that you should not use Grace, because you should. But using two, like if you want armor, then using two Arcane Guardians instead of using one Arcane Guardian and one Ultimatum, like it's basically the same thing. It's just the Guardian is easier to proc, so you should use it. Eli, the only thing about using two of the same Arcane, I know you didn't necessarily ask that, but just to like say, the only thing to keep in mind about using two of the same Arcane is that you are gonna be stacking up a lot of an effect, and you're gonna get diminishing returns by getting so much of the same thing. You generally don't want a lot of the same thing, but for example, like I would say two Arcane Guardians has like a fair number of uses. Just keep in mind that things get worse when you have more of them. Just keep that in mind. Actually, I probably don't want to bring Harrow for this. Let's use someone else. Oh, Harrow. So we'll do this and answer some final questions, and then I've got to go. But I'm glad we were able to do this for a few hours while I had some time. Who shall we bring? Nidoos? We will bring the Nidoos. The Umbrified Nidoos as well. Flash Dash, you said, is Arcane Arachne useful? No, for the same reason. So Arcane Arachne is... Let's show that. Arcane Arachne. Such a cool sounding arcane that I wish was good. So for those that don't know, Arcane Arachne, this increases the damage that you deal by 100% on the next hit. As far as we know, this is additive with base damage mods, making it even worse than that reload mod we were talking about before. So it is not that good. It's really bad, in fact. Even if a single hit was something you wanted to boost the damage of, which you often don't. I feel like Flash Dash, it could be like very limitedly useful on sniper rifles, maybe. Like I wouldn't like laugh at you if you used it on like a sniper rifle, but I don't think it's good. Like, it's just something you could do and like it wouldn't suck. I would recommend that reload speed mod for sniper rifles. Arcane. That would be dank. I hope they announce at TennoCon that we can put skins on Zaws. Yes, oh my god, please. I get, like, they have to, like, I can't imagine they don't want to do that. Come on. What gun Zaws do you think may be better than current weapons? I don't really understand how gun Zaws are going to work, because there aren't going to be, like, very many different kinds of them. You know, it'll just be, like, different firing patterns, I guess. So, like, if we imagine the Zaws we have now, like, there are lots of different kinds because we have different kinds of melee weapons, right? So for gun Zaws, is it going to be, like, we have a launcher one, and an assault rifle one, and a sniper one, and, you know, like a bow one? Probably not things like bows. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. So basically, you're asking, like, so what weapons, functionally, what you're asking is, what types of weapons do we not have good examples of? Launchers are actually lacking a little bit. A lot of launchers are good, but they don't have amazing base stats a lot of the time, or their supplemental stats, I mean, are not that good. So if you could make your own, you could fix that, and that could potentially be very potent. I would imagine that would be really good. So maybe launchers if we get that. I think assault rifles are very unlikely to be meaningful. We have a huge number of good assault rifles that are good in many different ways. I don't see how getting assault rifle Zaws will make them good unless the assault rifle Zaw Arcanes? Are we gonna have those? Like, are like dank? Like, maybe that will be good. Probably gonna be some wacky projectile strikes. Oh yeah, cool, sure. Maybe there'll be spear guns too. That would be cool. Spear guns. We don't have a lot of good spear gun things. That if we got more of those, they're likely to be competitive. Let's see. Semi-auto and burst weapons. Semi-auto weapons kind of suck, but anyway. Yeah. You said off the top of your head, 5 good primary weapons to use with magnetize. Okay. Lanka, Miter, Super Vandal. Like, I used Panthro once and it was okay. Not really suggesting you do that necessarily, but it was alright. And I heard Dracoon is really good. I haven't actually tried that one, but I've heard Dracoon is like... Dracoon is not a great weapon, but I've heard that it's good with Magnetize. Something I've been meaning to try. Theoretically, Dracoon has always performed worse than its numbers, so I could believe that. Like, its stats are good, so it's kind of always been a little weird that it just sucks. But yeah, that. If you could have one weapon of any kind added to Warframe, what would it be? I don't know. Hold on, I can think of one though. I would like to see more submachine guns. That's like the thing I want. You know how the Baza has fall off? It's like good, but it has fall off. I want them to do that. I want them to give us more weapons that are like pushed stat-wise, and then like have damage fall off. Like, so they're not shotguns where like they're designed for super close range. They're submachine guns. They're designed for like close to medium range, not long range, or medium, you know, steady medium range. They're designed for, you know, close to medium range, and then they're weaker than assault rifles if you shoot them at medium to longer ranges, but stronger if you don't. I think that would be cool. That's something we already have that I would like. Not Real said flails, and that actually sounds badass, so sure, for something we don't have in the game, flails. That would be sweet. I don't think we need more melee weapons, but like flails would be pretty gnarly. That sounds nasty. Does the Archoplasmar stack well with Magnetize? Sort of. Like Spirit and Steel, the projectile doesn't like woogity around in Magnetize effectively because it has a limited lifespan. But Archoplasmar is good with anything that groups things together, so like it's okay. I think it's got better synergy with abilities that suck enemies together than with Magnetize specifically, which will also hold projectiles in there. Railguns? We already have the Lanka. Brolo, you said Mara Detron, answering the question about which primaries would... Okay. Mara Detron's good with Magnetize, but is not a primary. Also, what do you think of an 100% disarm Magnetized discharge mag build? I don't know what you mean by that. What does that mean? We need more dual blades, Kappa. Please, no. Please. Don't. No. Dual wield primaries. Let me get my Rambo on. I kind of want that, but I sort of don't. I feel like it ruins the flavor of primaries, but I also kind of want it because it would be sweet. It would be badass. What about bows with Magnetize? I don't have a ton of experience, but I don't think it's that good. Yeah, Lanka is ridiculous with Magnetize, for those that don't know. Woogity, indeed. Woogity woogity. Roscas, you said any prediction for TennoCon? Yeah, like, eh. I think they're gonna tell us about the Melee rework. I think we're gonna get Venus Open World stuff, obviously. We'll probably get like Frame Fighter memes. That'll probably happen. Probably stuff about Gunzaws, I would imagine, specifically about Venus Open World. I think that they're gonna show us a new like endgame thing, or like an evolution of like ESO or Planes. I think they're gonna do that. Specifically though, like more than that, I don't know. They usually have surprises planned for TennoCon, and after the surprise that was PoE, like they could do anything. Like I could really be ambushed. Give me that Akzar for double blowing myself up. Yeah. Are you kidding me? No, we want Twin Colstar. That's the weapon that makes it literally impossible to be alive. Brolo, I think that's bad because you can just use Counterpulse. I would recommend the Mags Augment Counterpulse instead. And just disable people's guns. You don't really need to disarm them, like, as long as they're disabled. I think Counterpulse is great. One of Mag's new strong points. This thing isn't even bad on, like, practically no mods. It's got pressure point, but like, you know. We need more dual daggers. Well, no, we need good dual dagger stances. Remember to make it good before you ask for more of it. Dual daggers are terrible. Even if we had more dual daggers, they still wouldn't be good because their stances aren't good. They need better stances. They need identity. I would love to see dual daggers become like the acrobatic single target weapon. A single target weapon with incredibly high mobility as its advantage. Remember that if single target weapons don't have anything good going for them in their stance, they're just going to be bad because we already have rapiers and machetes, which have god tier stance bonuses. So I would love them to see them make a new dual dagger stance that is like heavy parkour and movement, and still single target, but just like really fast and like a lot of movement. That would be dank. I bet we'll get that sentient arm cannon weapon they said we were gonna get. I bet they'll show us that. Need covert lethality to work on dual daggers? No, we don't. Not necessary. If you did what I said, then they would have more identity. But it would also, I guess, be good if you let them be on dual daggers. I don't know. I would rather get a new identity for a weapon type than get the same identity on more weapon types. But it's not the worst idea I've heard. It would at least make them viable. Do you think they've reworked the new abilities of the Vlad frame yet? And how much of him do you think we'll see at TennoCon? We will definitely see him at TennoCon. Also, we're gonna see Chroma Prime at TennoCon, like definitely. They wouldn't. I refuse to believe that they would do TennoCon without having some Chroma Prime stuff ready when he's such a big ticket item. He's gonna like make all of their money for the rest of this year probably. Nothing negative about that. That's all. I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, Tempo Royale levels of mobility on a dual dagger stance would be sick. It would be sick. Brolo, I don't know that they have reworked the abilities of the new Vlad frame. I think they might just try to sell it to us, but I don't know. Vincent, if you're still here, Vincent Regios, I'm sorry I missed your question before. You said, does Stream Elements work with YouTube? And the answer is, yeah, but they implemented it really, really badly, like very lazily. And shout out to Stream Elements for making it impossible to debind your account. So if you log into Stream Elements with YouTube, you permanently cannot use it with your other account, even though that's the intuitive way you would do it. If you go to the Stream Elements Discord, there are hundreds of people complaining about that, and they haven't fixed it yet. It's been like 4 months and they haven't fixed it. So I don't know how it can possibly be that hard to just let people unbind their account, but it might not be their fault. Maybe it's YouTube somehow. Yeah, Stream Elements, I don't know. Stream Elements is a bit rough. It's the kind of platform where like they have good features, but they're the kind of people that like they push the features a little too fast and they're kind of not done. And it's at the point where it's like it's just unnecessary frustration. You don't really get to say that the feature is done yet if it's broken like that. TennoCon is tomorrow, not tonight. Speaking of machetes, what would you recommend for a machete Za? Very standard thing I'd recommend for most things. So my general recommendation for Zaws now is, you know, pick the head that has the good damage type, so you're usually looking for slash if you can get it. And then you want the slowest grip, unless you have a reason not to. And the fastest link that gives you the spread of stats you want. So usually I would recommend Equanagi 2 for pretty much any Za if you don't have a reason to make the stat spread different. That's the fastest, and then it gives you 14% crit and 25% status, which is good for a hybrid build that you want. And then use the slowest grip. So for machetes, that's Korb. So my ideal machete would be Syath, Korb, and Equanagi 2. You will see that in the Za appendix. That is the one I made. I actually have the parts for that right now, and I could make it right now, but I'm leveling this one up. So you will see that very soon. You'll see that tomorrow on stream if you're here tomorrow for the stream. Most important thing for machetes is to get Psycho and Kraken, yes. Machetes are not worth using, period, no matter what stats they have, unless you have Cyclone Kraken. And they are worth using, period, no matter what stats they have, as long as you have Cyclone Kraken. Machetes are a weapon type defined by their stance. If you don't have it, then they're terrible. Would not even bother if you don't have Cyclone Kraken. But they are very good if you do. Man, I cannot say enough good things about Cyclone Kraken. It's so sick. It's fun to use, too. Do you think we'll get an extra mod slot on primary and secondary weapons that ups mod capacity like stints and auras? No. I don't think so. I think that they will maybe eventually go through with removing base damage mods. But I don't think they're going to do it like that. I know what you mean, but I don't think so. I'm not sure I want that either. Did they completely scrap damage 2.5, or they're just adjusting it? Just wondering if Slash is going to get nerfed still. They didn't really suggest nerfing Slash as much as they just broke it. Damage 2.5, the way that they stated it, was like not even really... I don't know. Like, they did completely scrap it, but that doesn't mean... The way your question is worded kind of doesn't allow me to give the answer. They're going to change damage types at some point, yes. So they didn't scrap it. That would imply they're never going to change it, ever. And they definitely will. But they're not going to do the changes they suggested. Will Slash get nerfed? I hope not. It doesn't really need a nerf, necessarily. Puncture needs a buff. Magnetic needs a buff. Nothing else really needs changes. I'm kind of hoping that they will approach it very differently and realize that. Because I don't think it would actually be that difficult to fix the damage type thing. I suggested some changes that I think would fix it immediately. Make Puncture be a Banshee Sonar-like damage multiplier spot that punctures the enemy's armor and they take more damage if they get hit there. And then make Magnetize pull enemies together when it procs. Done, done. They would all be good. They would not always be good. Everything would be balanced. There'd be a reason to use everything, but it wouldn't, like, you know, push anything out. Done and done. I wish they would just do that. Would be a very, very simple fix that would completely fix all damage types. There'd be a reason to use everything. You wouldn't use everything all the time, but there'd be a reason to use everything. I wish they would do that, but they probably won't, so I'm gonna cry. But yeah, no, I mean, they'll probably do something with it. I don't know what. It's not for me to say what. I don't think that their intention is to nerf Slash, though. That's not usually how they do these things. Give me enough for a stomp. There we go. Gotta get our condition overload rolling here. I mean, our maggots. Yep, magnetic proc idea meshes with gas, exactly. Shepard, what's a YouTube? I know, right? I don't know, Shepard, you tell me. Crazy. We're about to stop, but bam, want to be here for the time I can. Boom. Look at that. Beautiful. Oh no, a betrayer. Actually, that's probably fine as is. Yep. If gas magnetic becomes viable, I'm gonna have a lot of fun. I know, right? Like, come on. South, and the reason I don't like that idea is that we already have a lot of solutions for armor, and like I feel like the game is already too singularly focused on armor as like a thing you always and only care about. So I would rather not have more ways to deal with armor, especially when we don't really need them, in my opinion. Which is why I don't like that idea. And the reason I want Puncture to be those vulnerability spots is because then we would have like a support type of proc that also doesn't mess up people's complaint. One of the complaints people had with damage 2.5 was a lot of people complained, I think erroneously, but that's how they felt, that all guns are for damage, they said. Utility guns can never matter That's really stupid and short-sighted, but that's what they said. And a way to fulfill that is to make something like that, where the proc is not directly damaged, but does indeed, like, what it gives you is damage. I think people didn't realize that when they said that, like, there's really no way to have design diversity if you make there be nothing that matters but damage. The game would suck if it was like that, and I think they're not appreciating that it already isn't like that, and that's benefiting them. But the way to fix the problem is to make it be supportive damage. So that's why I like that. I think that the puncture thing would be awkward, and you need to keep in mind that this game's design is already ridiculously awkward, and we don't want anything else that is, like, awkward. It's not that I dislike the idea of puncturing armor. That makes perfect sense in a way, but we already have, like, Slash basically already does that. Maybe they could just be swapped, but that would be disastrous for people's builds, so I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, Shepard, thank you for saying hello. Again, I gotta go in a little bit. I'm probably gonna stop right after this run, but someone said top 3 fun stances. Bullet Dance, Final Harbinger, and maybe Cyclone Kraken. Also really like Tempo Royale. Emilia, you said, what is the best amp Arcane? There's no best in this game. There are 2 that I recommend. But there are more that are good. There are no best things. That's not how this game works. The 2 I recommend are Virtuous Tempo and Virtuous, what's it called? I don't want to get the wrong name because then I'm going to mislead you. Virtuous Tempo I recommend for situations where you're with other players and you want to unload your damage into the terror list quickly. Virtuous Tempo will increase your fire rate when you get a kill, which is good because you'll kill Vonfilis to support the fight in general, or to charge lures or whatever, and then that will, by proxy, give you attack speed that will increase your DPS. Given infinite energy and no Void Strike, Virtuous Tempo is the best DPS increase, like raw DPS increase, as long as you can get a kill. I guess I'll just let myself die, actually. That's good, but if you're not going to be solo, then I would recommend using... Oh, so close. Should have went for one more wave. Then I would recommend using something else, and the name is currently slipping my mind, so let me go check really quick. So here's Virtuous Fury, which is the other one I recommend, but this is what Virtuous Tempo is. 60% chance on kill for 60% fire rate, super good. But the best like DPS increase given limited energy with Void Strike is going to be Virtuous Fury. This increases your overall damage output by 30% when you get a status effect. This is very easy to achieve because of the Granmu Prism. This amp is Granmu, Shrax, and Lauren 323. And it is the best overall damage increase, but it is very, very close with Virtuous Strike. A lot of people say Virtuous Strike is better. It is not. The math holds up that Fury is better, but it's not much better. So if you're going to choose to build one, you should build Fury. It's good in all the same situations. It's almost the exact same thing. It's just more consistent and it's more damage. But it's not that much better. So I would say unless you were an incredibly hardcore Eidolon farmer, if you have Virtuous Strike, I don't think it's worth making Virtuous Fury, provided you have this kind of amp. So I use Virtuous Fury on this thing for like hardcore terror listing. Shraxon is the most damage from a single shot of an amp, so it's really good with Void Strike. And Granmu is very good at proccing pretty much all Operator Amp Arcanes, and is also just good splash spam damage in general, lets you hit the Terrorless from far away as well, etc. And then there's this one. This is the more casual one I suggested. It looks badass. It is made from 2-3-1, and is designed to be used with Virtuous Tempo. You use the 3, the Klebric Scaffold, the Homing Laser, to kill Vomvalists with impunity, even in the middle of the confusing fight, very easily. And then after you get those kills, you'll get Fire Rate, so that you can empty your Schwack Prism shots into the Terrorless very fast, which gives you an all-around very usable, comfortable, consistent way to fight the Terrorlist that I think you're going to like a lot. So I recommend those two. I recommend 2-3-1 with Virtuous Tempo, and 3-2-3 with Virtuous Fury. Oop. Spanktank, you said Twitch all day tomorrow, literally no YouTube. Probably yes. Someone said what parts are on this Za? Ekwana Jai 2, Stung, and Dokram. Bob Mongoose, would you recommend a hybrid build for Burst and Prime? If a weapon is viable for a hybrid build, then the answer is yes. Somebody asked, what other games do I play? Right now, I pretty much only play Warframe, PUBG, and Fate Grand Order. I play Fate Grand Order and Warframe by far the most, and I play PUBG almost only with a friend of mine from real life that I've been gaming with since like high school. But I like PUBG in a pretty equal amount. I'll be streaming Fate Grand Order starting in the next couple of weeks, and I have already streamed PUBG on occasion as a little break for some PvP. So you'll see both those things going forward. I also have recently been playing some other games because of the Steam Summer Sale. I recently bought Fury and Hyper Light Drifter, mostly to compare both of them. They were both pretty affordable. I've been playing Pyre on and off since it came out, which I'm really enjoying. I've also really enjoyed Transistor and Bastion in the past. Magic the Gathering Online is a game I was playing a lot, but I haven't touched it in a little while, so I hesitate to say I'm playing it right now. But I've been playing Magic for a very long time, for about 2 decades almost. So I guess I play Magic. Yeah. I'm thinking of buying Prey. I was thinking of buying Prey. I'm pretty much definitely gonna buy Prey, and you might see me stream some Moon Crash, possibly with Anna. I think she would like that kind of game. Let me catch up on chat really quick, and then I gotta get out of here. Thanks to the stream people. It went very, very well. And again, if you have other questions about stuff with the channel, if there's anything that you didn't get answered, you can always ask it in the comments of this video. Part of the goal of this video was to have the comments be a place where people could ask whatever they needed to get asked, and I hope that you will use that. Need one more, or two more. Unfortunately, still worth, so we'll have to format that a little bit. I'm glad people like Prey so much. That's awesome. Sound like you watched Skillup's video about Prey. I did, but I was interested in it before. Actually, Anna had brought it up with me, I think, anyway, a couple of months ago, because she really likes alien, like, creepy-looking alien-y games. So I had been considering getting it, and then I saw Skillup's video on how Moon Crash was really good, and I was like, oh, well, okay. I guess that's another reason, you know, I know I'm going to get value out of it. I normally am not super interested in single-player one-off games. Like, it takes a lot to sell those to me. But that helped because it ensured me there'll be a lot of content. I'm okay with paying more for it. But yeah, Prey sounds cool. But it's not just because of that, no. SkillUp is great. SkillUp, as a lot of you know, I like SkillUp. He's rad. But I still don't think everything he touches turns to gold. Like I don't know. No one is like that, you know. He has biases just like everyone else, and he's good about them. That's why I like him, but still doesn't mean everything he does I'm gonna like. Damn near close though, to be fair. That's actually one of the things I'm most disappointed about. Skillip is going to TennoCon. You'll see him there, and I wanted to ambush him, but I will not be able to this year. I will have to do it next year. So yeah, if you have other questions about content related stuff, things that you heard me say I was gonna do but I have not done, post them in the comments of this when it's a stream archive, which it will be, you know, pretty much right away. And we're going to be streaming all day tomorrow on Twitch. For those of you here on YouTube, please follow me on Twitch. I've streamed on Twitch like 5 days a week for the past month. I'm pushing to Twitch partner. It will be very sustainable. We're still going to fire up content on YouTube, but I've been streaming on Twitch a lot. So if you want content, like I'm always here on Twitch, like practically every day. That's in the description, and I'll link it in chat as well. Please follow me on Twitch. If you have Twitch Prime, you should connect your account. If you have Amazon Prime and you have Twitch Prime, you should connect to your account. You can get free Trinity Prime, and you can also give me money for free. Just connect the accounts or even get a free trial. Get your Prime loot, claim that Trinity Prime by connecting your Warframe account to your Twitch account, and then you can sub to someone. You can use your free monthly Prime sub for me or for someone else. Make sure you use it on someone. I'd love it if it was me, but whoever else. And you will literally be giving them money for free. You don't have to pay for it, and then you can just cancel your credit card and you won't pay anything. I know it seems like that can't possibly be true, because how would that be viable? But Amazon is gigantic and they can't afford to do that, and it's to drive people to become Amazon Prime subs. They will do it. Somebody just did it. Yeah, boy, look at that. Chimepatok, thank you for subbing with Twitch Prime. That warms my heart. Oh, I'm so happy. You can tell, like, it's like my version of a blush. Thank you. I'm honored. Thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. Make sure you get your Prime loot, and if you're on a free trial and you don't want to pay for it, make sure that you cancel it before the month is out. I have heard that Amazon services are pretty forgiving about, like, if you don't want it, like, and it's only been a few days and you don't order anything, if you get charged for it, they'll usually let you have the money back. That actually did happen to me once, and they gave me, you know, you might get charged for it, but they gave me all the money back. So it's not like the end of the world if you forget to cancel it, but, you know, don't buy anything with Amazon Prime if you don't want to pay for it. But I bet a lot of you already have it, or your parents have it. That's haha. Tomato Kills, you said, not using Twitch, I'm so confused. We almost always use Twitch. I'm streaming here on YouTube because not everybody uses Twitch, and I want to say hi to the people who don't, but I also want to encourage them to use Twitch because I'll be there most of the time. We're pushing to Twitch partner. It's going to be rad. We're still firing up YouTube again. Thank you all for your patience. I know it's been a rough, like, month, 2 months, 3 months. It's been a rough little while between YouTube suppressing my content and then me moving and being all over the place. Thank you all for your patience. Honestly, like, it's such a weight off my shoulders that at least I know my community is not, like, dissolving in front of my eyes while I try to get things together. I have a lot of things on my plate, but you all going away is not one of them, and I really appreciate that. So thank you. If you sub to me with Twitch Prime while I'm not here, thank you. But feel free to wait till tomorrow because I'll be streaming for most of the day, and then I can thank you in person. Yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thanks for being an awesome audience as usual. If you want to watch more Warframe, go to my Twitch, and there's somebody else hosted. Normally we'd be rating someone, but we're on YouTube, and YouTube doesn't have that because YouTube sucks, and that's it. Right on. I thought there was one question I missed, though. Anyway, if I missed anything, do ask me in the comments. I will be hawking these comments of this stream archive. That should be coming up in a few minutes or a few hours if it's not immediate. And I'll see you all next time. Cheers.